guys, welcome to my channel Vinyl Beauty, or welcome back. I'm Debbie if you don't know me, and today's video is going to be another one in my series where we're taking a look at why we're buying eyeshadow palettes, or why I am at least. And you guys seem to have enjoyed these. I've done two more before. If you've not caught them, we've talked about whether it's the theme that makes us buy a palette or whether maybe pop culture plays its part. But for today we're going to be looking at influencer collabs. And I didn't think it was such an area of concern as such for me. I didn't think I was pulled in so much by influencer collabs. I know I've resisted quite a few of them, but when I look at the pile that I've got sitting next to me right now to talk about, I've bought a lot of influencer collabs in my time of buying makeup over the last 3 or 4 years. So if you want to see what I've got in my collection, and let's just discuss this as one of the draws that pulls us into buying makeup or buying eyeshadow palettes specifically, then please keep on watching. So before we get into this then, what do I mean by an influencer collab palette? What I'm specifically talking about is somebody probably from YouTube that has a makeup channel that's collaborated with a brand. That's more what I'm talking about, rather than ones based on pop culture that we've talked about before. So this is specifically an influencer collab. And I, as I say, have a lot more of these than I thought that I did. Okay, so the first up then is somebody I've been watching for a long time. I don't watch quite so much anymore, but when I first started watching YouTube, this was one of the first channels I found, and it's Sofe Does Nails. She's now called Sofe, and she's way younger than I am. She does a lot of drugstore reviews, so it wasn't the sort of makeup that I typically buy now, but I just really enjoyed her channel. She's very easy to watch, very good at what she does. I still, as I say, watch her videos now and again, but I just have so many people on my watch list now, I can't keep up with everybody. But yeah, she was one of the ones that started me into getting into watching makeup YouTube. So I wanted to support her. She came out with this collaboration with Revolution, and she's done, I think, 2 more since then, but I've only bought this one. This was the very first one. And she came out with a highlighter palette as well, which I also own, but we're just going to talk about eyeshadow in this video. I have barely used this palette, that's what I will say. It's got some really nice shades in it. It's got the warm tone area, it's got quite a lot of neutrals in there. What I have reached for it for is these 2 shades. You can probably see there's a little bit of pan in those, well, not much, but I've used those 2, and I've used that kind of tealy shade. I always go for the more unusual shades out of a palette, but as I say, this was the first palette that I bought that was specifically to support somebody that I watched, and I think that is one of the reasons that we're pulled into buying collaboration palettes, is because we want to support that person. Also at that time, I watched a lot of Manny MUA, and that was before he had his makeup brand Lunar Beauty. He just used to do normal reviews of makeup, but he got a collaboration with Makeup Geek. Do you guys remember when Makeup Geek were the thing on YouTube? It was either MAC or Makeup Geek, and people were duping out their MAC single shadows with Makeup Geek single shadows. And as I say, it was just when I started watching YouTube, so I was very interested in Makeup Geek, and I have bought some of the singles, but not really a singles girl. When he collaborated with Makeup Geek and brought out a palette, however, I was all over it. I still enjoy watching Manny's channel, and as you guys know, I love his brand Lunar Beauty with my whole heart. I think he does amazing products. But this was typical Manny makeup at the time, so it's very neutral. But oh, it's so special. I love this. I love this shade here, this red shade. I think it's called Mars. Yeah, Mars. And it's gone a bit dry now, but it was, when I got this palette, that's what I bought it for. There was very few true reds like this on the market. And when I saw him swatch this one, I was like, got to have it. It's got the typical kind of blue-brown kind of shade in there, duochrome, but a really, really pretty one of those. It's got a couple of really reflective shimmers in here. It's got like your brow bone highlight kind of shade, a bit like Shimmer Shimmer from Makeup Geek, but it has got a different name to it. But it's got everything you need to do a neutral look, but to spice it up with a little bit of red. So I've worn this quite a lot actually, and I still do. And it's one that I'd wear on a night out because, as I say, it performs really well. It's neutral enough to not scare everybody. You know, it's not the kind of makeup I've got on now that I'd perhaps wear on a night out with friends. And I can still make it mine with the red that's in there, but it's got all those neutrals to tone it down. I think it's a fantastic palette. I'll never ever get rid of it. As I said, I don't declutter anything anyway. Also, probably around about that time, I bought a Violet Voss palette in collaboration with Laura Lee. And I was watching Laura Lee, but not kind of exclusively or very often. You know, I just occasionally would watch some of her videos. And I know she is friends with Manny, so it just reminded me that this is the next one I want to talk about. But it started off a love affair with me with Violet Voss shadows. And I've got a number of Violet Voss palettes actually. I've got a really big one that they did. Oh, I can't remember all the names of them now. But anyway, I've got a lot of Violet Voss palettes and really enjoyed the formula of these ones that were this kind of shape and size. This is a warm tone lover's dream actually. It's got some really beautiful reflective shimmers that I've dug some quite big pan into. So you can see for somebody that's got so many shadows as I do, how much love I gave this palette. Yeah, it's quite special if you like neutrals. If you're sitting here liking the sort of makeup that I'm wearing on my eyes right now, you'll probably think this is really boring, but if you like neutrals and appreciate them, you'll see all the different variations in tone. There's some beautiful duochromes in here, and another thing that I look for in palettes is it goes light to dark, which is an essential for me, but it's got some pops to kind of jazz it up as well. It's fantastic, honestly. I really enjoy this palette, but I bought it, as I say, at the time when I was really into Violet Voss. I think they've kind of lost their way a little bit and they're not one of my favourite brands anymore, but they used to be on Beauty Bay as well, which made it a lot easier to buy it, and that's where I got this one from. But it was at the time when I was occasionally watching Laura Lee. The next one I'm going to show you is one of my favourite palettes in my entire collection. This is grungy, it's beautiful, it's got some gorgeous shimmers in it. Nobody talks about it. It's an old palette, but I love it. And it was by Sosu, by Suzanne Jackson and Kaylee Cashel. Kaylee Cashel now owns their own brand, Cash Beauty. I've never tried that brand, and this is the only palette I own by Sosu, by Suzanne Jackson. But I didn't buy this because I followed Kaylee at all. I don't know how I came across the video, but you know how YouTube just like sends you down a rabbit hole, and it just recommended this palette review to me, and I watched it and I was like, this is my kind of palette. It's half neutral, half colourful. It goes light to dark. You've got a white, a black, a red. You've got some beautiful purples. I like a half neutral, half colourful palette, and I think this is one of the best, quite honestly. The shimmers are so special in this one. They're really reflective, really, as I say, special, just stunning. This shade's gorgeous. Mercy, Myth is beautiful. Aura. Not so keen on this one. What's that one called? Chaos. That one has developed a bit of hard pan. It's a beautiful shade, but it's hard panned a bit. But all the others are fantastic. And this shade down here, Sacrifice, oh, it just goes on for days. It's one of these that looks kind of like just plummy and kind of a little bit boring in the pan, but it's just got a gorgeous tone, and the slightest amount of it goes such a long way. I think when I first started my channel, I did do a video on this, or maybe even a 3 looks 1 palette. Don't go look for it, it'll probably be awful. I think I was so nervous when I first started my channel, it'll probably be cringy, but I have so much love for this palette to this day, and it's probably 4 years old maybe now. So yeah, might have to dig this one out again and do some looks with it on my channel that are a bit more recent that people might want to watch. Okay, next up I'll show you this palette. This is from Dose of Colours and Desi and Katie. Again, it's a collaboration with Desi and Katie. Didn't really watch either of them. It would be an occasional video that'll pop up in my timeline and I'd see it, but I bought it more so because I was really into the brand Dose of Colours, but for their lipsticks, their liquid lipsticks at the time, like Extra Saucy, trying to remember what the other one is, Campfire. I love the unique tones that they used to do in their liquid lipsticks. Again, I bought this one on Beauty Bay. The packaging is just so beautiful. It was the second collaboration that they did. They had a quad that was all shimmers, and then they brought this one out. And I wasn't really watching makeup YouTube when the first one came out, but I think I saw Samantha March talk about this one because she was very much into the first palette, and so saw it on her channel. But it's horribly reflective on the background to be able to show you. but it's got that block party shimmer formula that Dose of Colours are known for. If you've bought any of the singles like Teal Me More, you'll know what I mean. It's got a black base to it. So I'm talking specifically these shades here. They've got a black base but really, really fine glittery particles. Just absolutely gorgeous. This is a go-to palette for me to do a black smoky eye with kind of a neutral crease to it. I used to use this one for work a lot. It's got some quite ordinary kind of mattes that you can use in your crease that aren't too scary, but some really beautiful looking shimmers, but that aren't too out there that you wouldn't be able to wear them for work. So it's quite versatile, honestly, and a really nice formula in it. Not used it for a long time, but yeah, really love it. Another one of the bigger YouTubers that I used to watch when I first started getting into makeup was Kristen Leanne, and I don't watch her anymore. I think she's doing a bit sort of strange content these days, and yeah, as I said, I just watch a lot more indie makeup kind of based channels and try to support my friends these days. So I've kind of dropped her from my watch list, but at the time really used to enjoy her channel. And she collaborated with Urban Decay. So she brought out 2 palettes. I'm going to show you the boring one first, because why did I buy this? This is, I think there's 5 shadows in it. It's really neutral, nothing very special about it at all. It had a brush with it, and it's quite a nice brush for Urban Decay brushes, because they're normally awful in the palettes, but that one's quite soft. I thought to myself, it was at the time when I thought you had to do a neutral crease if you were doing colour on your lid. I'd watched so many of these like bigger YouTubers, and that's how they do their makeup, you know, where they start with the blending shade first, then the next darkest shade, then the next darkest, as they go down kind of from the brow downwards. So I was doing that technique, and I thought I need these kind of shades to start off a look with the other palette that I bought that she also came out with. I mean, it's good to have those staples in such a small size container to travel with, but I never did really. But this one, so that first one I showed you was called the Daydream. This one is the Kaleidoscope Dream, and yeah, this one's gorgeous. This one got a lot of flack because of all the different shaped pans that are in it. It's got a brush, again, quite a nice brush in there. The pans are interesting. So if people are complaining about the pan shapes changing and getting different shapes and sizes from Urban Decay, they put them all in this palette, including a split pan as well. So you've got some of the kind of more oblong pans, you've got circular ones, you've got square ones, all different sizes. It messed with a lot of people's OCD, but this is one of the best formulas that Urban Decay ever came out with, in my opinion. This and the Jean-Michel Basquiat palettes have got a very similar formula. They're ultra pigmented, they're like what you're used to getting from indie brands, and yeah, fantastic palette. And I think a lot of people just didn't get it because of the layout, which is a shame. It's those 2 shades, the Leo and Brixton shades, they're like transforming topper shades, and they'll go over other shades or greaters inner corners. The purple in here is fantastic. Yeah, it's very shimmer heavy. There's only 2 mattes, so you've got a black matte and a kind of orangey one there. So that's why I bought the accompanying mattes, because I didn't have as much makeup back then. That's my excuse. But the shimmers are so pigmented, so beautiful. Yeah, it's fantastic. I love it. I don't know if Urban Decay have done a collaboration with an influencer since, but Urban Decay, I'm available, okay? I've been a stan talking about your makeup for the longest time, and I know all about it. No, only kidding, but yeah, it'd be nice to see them do another collaboration, because I think, yeah, they did a fantastic job with that one. And then next up, I've got Anastasia. Now, they've collaborated with quite a number of people. They collaborated with Makeup by Mario. I don't have that palette. That was like one that everybody used to rave about when I first started watching YouTube, but I was a little bit late. That had already gone, and we were in the time when the Modern Renaissance was the palette to own when I first started watching YouTube. So, but these are newer than that. And we've got the Alyssa Edwards palette. And I wasn't even familiar with who Alyssa Edwards was, so it wasn't that I bought this because it was a collaboration, but the packaging caught my eye for this one. I think it's stunning. And Anastasia just didn't bring out colourful palettes like this, and then suddenly there was one that looked like this, and I just had to have it. So I've did a whole week of looks with this palette. I was so inspired by it. I uploaded every single day different looks and different techniques. It did come with a typical Anastasia double-ended brush, which I love those, so I took that out and I do use those. But it's a rainbow palette, but it's got some interesting shades that aren't kind of quite your rainbow, so a little bit off in there. And you've got your neutral staples as well, so there's so much you can do with this palette. It is a really good one for an Anastasia palette. The formula was good, it always is, I think, for Anastasia. I do like their formula. They were one of the first to do like that pigmented but powdery formula. Remember all of the Subculture Gate when there was people swirling their brushes around and going, oh, there's so much kick up and whatever. Well, now we expect that kind of kick up and it's not a big deal. And that palette, if it was released now, nobody would really bat an eyelid. But back then it was a big thing. This one's not as powdery as the Subculture, but it has got that kind of formula. But some really bomb colours in there. I've also got the Carly Bible palette. The only video of Carly's I've watched is the review for this palette, so it was nothing to do with the fact that I followed her. I'm kind of aware of who she is. She again was one of those bigger YouTubers that were wearing very subtle, like, I don't know, glam makeup that wasn't my kind of style of makeup by the time I sort of knew who she was. I underestimated this palette though. I thought it was going to be quite boring and quite neutral, but it's got some gorgeous shimmers in there, and I don't know, they've got a fairy tale kind of specialness about them. I'm rubbish at describing shades, but yeah, mystical, maybe it's that about them, that quality that the Sigma Enchanted palette has got as well, if you're familiar with that one. And so once I got it in my hands and saw it for real, I was like, actually, this is a really nice palette. It's not got too much depth, but it does have a red in there, which is beautiful. Again, I always love to see a red in a palette, but it's these shades like here, these two, that are really, really special in here. But with an Anastasia palette, you always get a mix of neutrals and some colours in there, but yeah, it surprised me. It does a lot more than I would have given the collaborator credit to have put together as such, because she is quite a neutral lover. Right, and last up from Anastasia, I've got the Jackie Einer palette. Gorgeous packaging. I love this kind of iridescent kind of colour flip kind of packaging. Gorgeous. But the shades in here are lovely. I bought it because I bought the Carly Bible and I needed to buy another palette to go in the little coffret thing that's sitting on my background. I don't know if you can see it, just by Betty Boo at the back there. There's like a little coffret that holds two palettes, and it's all glittery and sparkly, and if you bought two palettes you got that free. So I wanted to get another palette, so I didn't buy it because of the collaborator at all. And I don't think I've ever watched Jackie's videos, to be honest, but not to say I don't love the looks of this palette, because it's got Debbie all over it, hasn't it? I mean, it's got reds, pinks, purples, it's got some neutrals, it's got gold shimmers in it, which I love. I don't know why, I just haven't reached for it. But I think it's because I missed the party. Like, by the time I got it, the hype had gone. Anastasia as a brand were kind of, you know, everybody was fed up with them. They were coming out with too many releases, and then all the Norvina releases. And so nobody really were that happy with Anastasia. And I just stopped kind of using my Anastasia palettes, which is crazy because they're eyeshadow at the end of the day. Who cares what anyone thinks, you know, of the brand now or whatever. I bought these palettes and I need to use them. So yeah, definitely should get some use out of this, and plan to do so very soon now I'm looking at it, because yeah, there's some gorgeous shades in there. That shade Wigglies is speaking to me, the red sparkly shade in there. Okay, next up is one that I regret. Love the collaborator, don't really like the palette. And I'm so disappointed really, because I'd followed Nikki Tutorials from the beginning of finding YouTube and makeup YouTube. She's one of the first channels that I found, and I've just loved to see everything about her story. And she's just an incredible makeup artist, isn't she? Just like, she can just take any shadows and make them like perform like amazing. Like, I don't know, so inspirational to me, the colour combinations and the way that she gets things to work. And I remember at the time, the technique of like just using a brush with no additional product to blend out, I'd never seen anyone do that. It's just like, it seems incredible now to say that, but you know, back maybe 4-5 years ago when I found her, I didn't know any of those kind of techniques that she was using, and I was just mesmerised, honestly. She did a collab with Too Faced. I almost bought that one, but it got terrible reviews. I wasn't buying nearly as much. I was watching all the reviews and I decided not to get it. And so I wasn't going to miss out on this one. This is the Beauty Bay palette, of course. I love the packaging, the dark side and the more light side. It's a pain in the ass to hold up as a YouTuber because of how it is, but I'll hold it up like that so you can see it. I'm sure you all know what this palette looks like anyway. Love the colour story. I just can't get on with Beauty Bay shimmers. I know that's an unpopular opinion, but I just don't like the glitter fallout from them. They irritate my eyes and you get a glitter fallout all over your cheeks that I don't appreciate. But I do like it for the mattes and I like the layout of it. I don't know, I just wanted more somehow from her collaboration. It just didn't quite hit the mark for me. And another YouTuber that I used to watch all the time, there was two at the time. I used to watch Jacqueline Hill all the time and I used to watch Kathleen Lights, and this is a collaboration that she did with Colourpop, the So Jaded. She'd done one with Morphe in the past that I'd seen. She did a highlighter palette with Makeup Geek that I do own. But yeah, this one I think is the best that she's ever done, and one of the best Colourpop palettes, I think, of these big ones anyway. I don't normally go for palettes as big as this, but I love jewel tones. Don't like pressed glitters. They look so beautiful in the pan though. They're stunning to look at, but I won't use those on my eyes. But yeah, the mix of jewel tones and neutrals in this one make it so versatile. It's so well done. Yeah, just seeing this one now makes me want to play with it. It gets me truly excited about makeup when I film these, because you know, a lot of the time these palettes are tucked away in my drawers and I just don't think about them, and then when I get them out and see them again, I'm like, why am I using this? Because wow, there's some incredibly beautiful shades in here. Yeah, it needs to get some more love for sure. Perhaps I want to do a multiple look video with this because I know a lot of you will own it. We've got 3 more palettes left, and the palettes that I'm going to show you now, all 3 of them are collaborators that I follow all the time and that I watch pretty much everything for, and they're collaborations with indie brands as well, which I adore. So the first one I'm going to show you, I didn't buy it. It was when I was still on the PR list, and it's the Kaleidos Club Nebula palette. They dropped me after this, so I don't know if I didn't do a very good job of my review for them, but I absolutely adore this palette. All joking aside, I think it's because I'm just too small and they've taken off, which I'm so happy for them. They've got their pick of collaborators now and they're going to send PR to people that they get a lot more views from. Absolutely understand that. But I was lucky enough to get this in PR and I'm so thankful for that. So it's the collab with Angelica Nyquist, of course, and she knows what she's doing, putting together a colour story. This is probably the best colour story in my collection. She's got very similar vibe to me in terms of she likes to have deepening up shades for her outer corner. She likes ultra sparkly topper shades, and she likes red and she likes green. And so, you know, the colour choices in here were right up my street. The formula's amazing. Kaleidos has one of the best eyeshadow formulas bar none. I mean, their shimmer formulas are, yeah, they're otherworldly. Like, I don't know how to describe how beautiful they are, and their mattes are pigmented but they don't have too much fallout. You can kind of sketch a look out with them, but you can still blend with them. In love with this palette. I know lots of you got it, some of you missed out on getting it, but yeah, one of my favourites in my entire collection. Next up is a collaboration with my friend Annette from Annette's Makeup Corner. Annette has done 2 collaboration palettes, one called the Serenity palette, based around butterflies and done with Menagerie Cosmetics. Couldn't get that one because of their refusal to post their palettes to the UK. I'm very disappointed in you, Menagerie. I love Menagerie products and I would have loved to own that palette. It's just been restocked as well, and it just hurts my heart every time I see everyone else being able to get it and I can't. But I got this one for sure. This is the Giant Wolves from Odin's Eye. Love Odin's Eye's formula. Love the artwork on this one. She did a fantastic job of this collaboration. So this one I absolutely bought because it's Annette, of course, but also the brand as well, and I know how good their formula is. I was slightly disappointed with this shade. It's gorgeous, Eternal, but it has hard pan on me and I have to really dig into it to use it, which I'm surprised like for a net to have had that in a palette. But the colour story is so unusual, so deep and dark, but you've got some pops in there. The shimmers, as I say, are ultra reflective and gorgeous on the eyes, and definitely bought this one because it was a collab with a net. Okay, so last but not least, and probably one of my favourites of my entire collection, and I say that about a lot of palettes, you see, I just love eyeshadow palettes, what can I say? But this one truly is, because I bought it specifically because of the person and also the brand, and it's the Shroud and Bean, or Batty Bean as she is now, It's Freaking Bats palette. When Betty Jean announced this one, I almost did a little squeal for her. I was just so proud of her, so happy for her. I've been following her since she had, I think, 4,000 subscribers, and she's got pushing 30,000 I think now. She's just done so well. She's got such a work ethic, and I watch every video she puts out, and there's a lot of them. She's one of the only people that I watch pretty much everything for, and yeah, she does vlogs, but she also does multiple reviews and looks and whatever, and her looks are just also different and so inspiring. I think she's fantastic, but as I say, works so hard as well. But the palette is just a dream, isn't it? It's spooky, it's strange and unusual, and I think Betty Jean would love that description of it, because as I say, she's into everything spooky and starts celebrating Halloween in like July. So it's just the perfect collaboration, and with the perfect brand to do it justice. It's got some really unusual tones, it's got some really sparkly gorgeous shimmers, it's got a bit of grunginess, as I say, and a bit of spookiness going on. I love this one. It took forever to arrive, they didn't have enough stock. I think they totally underestimated the popularity of their own brand and Betty Jean, but yeah, so happy I own this one of the treasures in my collection. So yeah, it turns out I've got a lot more collaboration or influencer collab palettes than I thought I did. There's a lot that I don't have. I don't have the Mel Thompson Sydney Grace Tiny Marvels. I nearly picked that up and just didn't in the end. I haven't got any of the Raw Beauty Christie ones. I'm trying to think, there's probably been tons of collaborations that I don't have that perhaps you guys do. So it'd be lovely to know in the comments, have you got any of these? What others do you have? Is it something that's a draw for you that makes you want to buy a palette more if it's somebody that you watch and you want to support them? Or do you not fall for that and you just look more so at the colour story or the brand or whatever? I'd love to know. I find it really interesting. But I hope you've enjoyed this next chapter in the Why Do We Buy Eyeshadow Palette series that I'm doing. I'm going to do another eyeshadow palette video in the next week or two, but it's not going to be quite so much this kind of theme, but it is going to be another collection video, so hope you'll stay tuned for that. But thank you for all the love on this series. I know I've had really positive comments, so just thank you so much for watching. If you're new to my channel and you enjoyed this one, then as I say, I'm going to be doing more like this, but also do lots of makeup tutorials. The look that I'm wearing on my eyes right now is already up on my channel if you want to check that out. But yeah, subscribe and be part of the Final Beauty family, because we have a great time chatting in those comments, and we're just a bunch of makeup lovers, and that's what I started my channel for, just to express my love for makeup. So please come and join us if you feel the same. But other than that, guys, hope you're having a lovely day or night. Hope you're keeping safe and well, and catch you in the next video. Bye guys.